All right, so what we are going to do today is we are going to update your ELA reading and writing page of your portfolio. What I want you to do is I want you to text box. That's all this is right here. You can add a text box over here on the other side of your screen. And I want you to type in, am I an effective communicator? And please make sure that you have created this as a title. And so really that's what we're going to be focusing on. The first thing that I want you to do is I want you to write a reflection about your effectiveness as a communicator. In order to get this template, I just want you to click this layout button right over here. And it should pop up with something that looks a little bit like this. You just haven't typed in your information yet. So I want you to title this as My Effectiveness as a Communicator. And there will be a blank space for an image here. You are welcome to pick an image out, but let's do that a little bit later. Really what I want you to do is I want you to write about a paragraph assessing your effectiveness as a communicator. And when we say effectiveness as a communicator, really what we're talking about is when you speak or when you write, do people understand what it is that you are saying or what it is that you are talking about? And are people interested? Are you engaging them in some way, shape, or form to where they would want to come back and listen to you or read what you have to say again? So I've written a sample paragraph here that you can take a look at. You're welcome to pause the video to take a look at that. But I would want yours to be pretty similar. Again, as you're going through and thinking about it, everybody should start their paragraph in one of two ways. You're either going to say, I believe that I am an effective communicator, or you're going to say, I believe that I am not an effective communicator yet. And yet is a really, really important word as we're going through and taking a look at this. Because we still have a lot of the year left and you've still got a lot of life left where you can be working to improve these things. And that's really what our ultimate goal is for you. Because even if you are an effective communicator now, we want you to become more effective. And if you don't feel effective, we really want you to put in that word yet, because we're hoping that we're going to get you another step closer. Again, feel free to pause the video and take a look at this, but I want you to be really specific in the things that you include and write that reflection. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to add another text box. So you can just click that text box button again. Again, please change it so that it is a title. And I want you to write My Strengths and Weaknesses as a Communicator. And then the layout that you're going to use this time is the one in the bottom left over here. And I want you to title one side My Strengths and one side My Weaknesses. And if you click below where it says click to edit text, I just want you to start bullet points for both sides of this. And as I go through and I'm talking about some of these things, I want you to think about things that you want to add. And so all of these are different categories. You may have more things on your list than just those that I'm going to mention, but you want to make sure that you're thinking about where these things belong. So for instance, group work. How do you function in a group? And I don't mean do you like group work. What I mean is, are you somebody who steps up and communicates really well? You take on some leadership roles and you really help people to get where they're going? If so, then in strengths, you might say group work. If you are somebody who is a little bit distracting or you are really not communicating well in groups, then you might put that on the weaknesses side. Another thing to think about is speaking in front of groups. So maybe you're good at group work, but speaking in front of groups is not something that you feel good about. Again, as I go through and I'm listing some of these things, I just want you to think about where they belong. And as we go through, you're just going to continue to add bullet points to whatever side of this you want. So some other categories and things I want you to think about. I want you to think about our different kinds of writing. So where does argumentative writing, informational writing, narrative writing, poetry, blended writing, where does all of that fit? Are those strengths or are those weaknesses? I want you to think about things like your style and voice, which is kind of how you put your own personality into the things that you write or the presentations that you create. Are you good at that, or is that something you need to work on? When you think about presenting in front of groups, is your eye contact something that's good? Is your volume something that's good? Again, as I'm going through and mentioning these, feel free to stop the video as much as you need to. And I really want a good long list for both of these areas of things that you think are your strengths and things that you think are your weaknesses. A few other ideas before we go ahead and move on to the last section would include things like organization. So are you good? And I'm not talking about organizing like files and folders and papers. I'm talking about organizing the things that you write or the things that you say. Are you good at knowing, well, if I wrote this first, then I should write this second? Or if I said this third, then I should say this fourth. It's about how you put your pieces together. Are you good at organization? Another thing that you can put in either a strength or a weakness is that do people actually understand the things that you are communicating? Again, whether it's through speaking or writing. By the time that you're done with your list of strengths and weaknesses, you really want to make sure that you have captured your strengths and weaknesses for both speaking and writing so that you kind of have this idea of you as a communicator as a whole. The last part that we're going to do is your opportunities for success and threats to that success. So again, I want you to add another text box. You're going to make sure that it's a title. And again, all of these I titled and tried to create in a way that would make sense so that you can make sure that you've got things capitalized appropriately and things of that nature. And then you're going to use that same lower left-hand layout to create this section down here. So your opportunities, again, you are welcome to just make this a bullet pointed list, but your opportunities are things that exist that will help you to address some of your weaknesses. So I'm going to try and give you a handful of examples. If these are things that you think you would actually do, then that's your goal, is to write these down. So some of these might include conferencing with your teacher, whether it's a speaking issue or a writing issue. No matter what, conferencing with your teacher can be a huge help. Taking advantage of extra practice opportunities. So for instance, maybe you put conventions on your list of weaknesses. So being able to put, your commas in the right places, capitalizing sentences, writing sentences that are complete sentences. There will always be lots of extra practice opportunities for things like that. But there may be other opportunities to write and speak in some different ways that would allow you to do that too. Another thing that you can do is you can find support at home. And so if that's something that would work for you, maybe you've got somebody who would review your work at home, somebody who would read over your papers and give you feedback. So that's an opportunity. Again, opportunities are just things that you could have and could, take advantage of. Another thing that would work as an opportunity could be using additional materials provided by teachers. A lot of times when we build whatever it is that you are going to be using or doing online, we provide additional materials that you could use or additional resources that would help you to take your skills to the next level. So that's a really good idea. Another one would be to, let's say that one of your weaknesses was speaking in front of people, maybe just raising a hand and speaking in front of class as often as possible would allow me to really make sure that I am practicing speaking better. Maybe just like asking for help when I need it is something that I could do. So again, you want a list of like 4 to 5 things that you really feel like you could do that are like opportunities for you to address some of those weaknesses that you have. Another one that I love to put on there is YouTube, because there are so many things that are on YouTube that if you don't know how to do them or you want to hear them said in a different way, they would be great ways to address some of those weaknesses, especially speaking, because you can go on there and watch TED Talks and see other people speak and do different things that are really good. The threats is the last piece. And so for your threats, these are things that are standing in your way of success. So you really need to do some introspection here and think about, okay, what are the things that are holding me back? Sometimes like a bad attitude can be really harmful. Sometimes it can be something as simple like paying glass. Other things could be things like, I don't know, like not taking advantage of opportunities. So this is anything that's going to stand in your way of addressing any of your weaknesses. That's it. Don't forget that when you are finished, you have got to smash that publish button so that what you've done is live to the world.